Is compassion a property of people or of the universe? It fits together with a couple of other questions. Like, what is a person? Everything is special. There's a real meeting when we meet the world, when we breathe in air, when we connect with trees and flowers, and not only when we meet a person. And if people are real, why isn't everything real? Are you real because you deserve love, or vice versa? That's an interesting one. So it's all about, nature of reality, really, isn't it? And of a person. And is there anything other than persons, actually? What kind of a independent of persons universe could there be? Who would know about it? You'd have to invent it, wouldn't you? Because unless somebody was experiencing it, it would be invented by people who are experiencing other things, inventing a universe that was outside of what they were experiencing. So maybe that's getting a bit complicated. A universe outside of any experience. What kind of universe, and who would know about it? So if we're claiming there is one, then we're inventing it. So it's a fantasy. It's something, well, let's say, not say a fantasy, but it's an invention. It's imagined. It's funnily enough, it makes, modern science view that there is a world out there sound like total superstition. Because all they know is what's in their experience. Yeah. But they don't believe that, do they? You think you can leave out your experience and you can study the world that's out there, but it can't be out there, or they wouldn't know about it. From where I'm sitting, that's so obvious. I'm surprised it's not obvious to the whole world, but there you are. I can see you're struggling with that.
So you don't see that there was a world. I mean, you get into time. Then was there a world before there were people? Sentient beings. What are we to believe about the world before sentient beings emerged, or do we not?
Well, I can't see how you can get anywhere with that. Whereas the other way round, the world is sentient beings, makes more sense. Then you've got a perspective from which to talk about in what way did sentient beings create worlds. Because we've definitely got sentient beings. We've definitely got the worlds they create. So you're on solid ground there, aren't you? And they create them, okay, there's measurable things which we distinguish between things that can't, things that you can't measure and things that you can measure. And science specialises in things you can measure, doesn't it? Which is quite interesting. Specialisation. It's a quite interesting specialisation, really. It's led to all sorts of interesting things, hasn't it? But it hasn't made any contribution at all to the basic question. It's just given you, all sorts of interesting stuff. But, so if you were to go the other way, obviously there's beings, and they're worlds, and the body, speech and mind of a world, if you kind of, you really explore what is meant by a being, it always has this structure of a mind and a body and something in between, if you like, some kind of movement between. And that body is integral to the world. It's not separate from the world. It's, where does the being end and the world begin? I mean, that's a question. That's not it's open question. So it's almost like environment and mind and the whatever action is happening between. Or even Shikpo describes it as self, other, and the sphere of self, the sphere of other, the sphere of the interface between the two. So if you start thinking really about the nature of beings, the nature of a person, then you're getting, maybe there's nothing outside of that, then what's the relationship of those worlds to each other and beings to each other? Are they separate or are they distinct? Yes, they are distinct. Are they separate? No, they're not separate. Wouldn't mean anything for them to be separate. Are they distinct? Yes, obviously. Distinct but not separate. Okay, now you're talking about compassion. So if we've now called the universe, if you like, is only beings, that includes what we would normally think of as emotions, if you're calling compassion an emotion. So the universe itself, from that point of view, could express emotion. So rather than there is a material universe and then it all comes together in a certain way and then pop, up comes emotion, it's actually the other way round. There's the emotionality of the universe. Maybe it's kind of, like enjoying itself. This is a description in Trungpa Rinpoche's book, isn't it? The universe is enjoying itself, yeah. And then some part of the universe suddenly goes ping and goes, oh, panic, where am I? I'm lost. Oh, help. And starts taking rebirths and starts, going through this whole sort of thing. Then the universe is, oh dear, it's part of it. It's part of itself. It doesn't want to feel that. It's its own suffering, if you like. So it kind of starts to kind of act on it in whatever way it can to bring it back, to realise its own nature again, and it can enjoy the universe, enjoy itself again. So there's a kind of, that compassion is kind of primary, and expresses itself through us. Where, what compassion we have is just natural, because that's how the universe is. It's got that natural compassion in it. So that's why it's such hard work to close your heart down. It's all these knots around the heart that make it so hard to open. It's because you have to really work hard to, if you like, suppress the compassion that's naturally there. And then when those knots are kind of somehow or other, those habitual patterns get eventually worn down and open up and start to open up, there isn't a separate exercise, if you like, for developing compassion. There isn't now, okay, now I've cleared all the knots, now I think, how do I develop compassion? It just doesn't happen like that. And even it works the other way, that your natural compassion starts to break up the knots. A moment of compassion You know, could just break your heart open. So it is a property of people and of the universe.